Join me as I dive into the spooky world of whispers from the dead and see if I can uncover the haunting secrets of this house that's taken social media by storm. And subscribe, like and share for more horror mystery. The house on Cedar Hollow Road was a quiet, unassuming split level, nestled in a cul-de-sac in the small town of Ellsbury, Pennsylvania. Its brick facade and neatly trimmed hedges blended seamlessly with the neighboring homes, each a near-identical echo of mid-century suburban ambition. By day, the street buzzed with the soft hum of lawnmowers and children's laughter. But at night, the silence was thick, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant bark of a dog. For 18-year-old Sam Carver, the house was both a sanctuary and a puzzle, a place where he felt safe, but never entirely at ease. There was something about the way the shadows pooled in the corners, the way the air seemed to hum with a faint electric charge that made him feel watched. Sam had moved to Ellsbury with his older sister Rachel and their father, Paul, a year earlier, after their mother walked out without a word. The move was meant to be a reset, a chance to stitch together the frayed edges of their family. Rachel, 22 and fiercely independent, took the attic bedroom, while Sam claimed the basement, a low-ceiling space with a single window that looked out onto the backyard. Paul, a night shift nurse, was rarely home, leaving Sam and Rachel to navigate the house's quirks alone. The pipes rattled, the lights flickered, and the basement stairs creaked underfoot, even when no one was there. Sam chalked it up to an old house settling, but Rachel wasn't so sure. "This place has ghosts," she'd said once, half laughing, her eyes lingering on the dark hallway. It started with the phone. Sam had always been a vivid dreamer, his sleep filled with fragmented images, endless tunnels, faceless crowds, or skies that burned red. But in the winter of 2024, his dreams sharpened, becoming less like dreams and more like memories he didn't own. The first time it happened, he was 17, sprawled on his basement bed, the cordless phone on the nightstand crackling faintly. He'd fallen asleep listening to a podcast about unsolved mysteries, the host's voice droning through his earbuds. The phone, an outdated model their father insisted on keeping, was usually silent. But that night, it emitted a low buzz, like a wasp trapped in a jar. In the dream, Sam was standing in the kitchen, but it wasn't the kitchen he knew. The cabinets were wrong, dark wood instead of white, with brass handles that gleamed dully. The air smelled of ozone, sharp and electric, and the fluorescent light overhead flickered in a slow, deliberate rhythm. The phone was there, sitting on the counter, its receiver off the hook, emitting a steady hum that vibrated in his bones. Sam felt a pull, an urge to pick it up, but his hands were heavy, as if tethered to the floor. The hum grew louder, splitting into fragments, voices faint and overlapping, like a radio stuck between stations. They whispered things he couldn't quite catch, words that slipped away like water through his fingers. Then he saw her. She was standing by the sink, a woman with pale skin and hair so dark it seemed to absorb the light. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, and her lips moved silently, as if mouthing the words from the phone. She wore a faded dress, the kind you'd see in old photographs, with a high collar and frayed hem. She didn't move toward him, but her presence was heavy, like a storm cloud pressing against his chest. The whispering grew sharper, and Sam caught fragments. "Listen! Closer! In the wires?" The woman's head tilted, her eyes locking onto his, and she smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was thin, sharp, like a crack in glass. Sam woke with a jolt, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. The podcast was still playing, the host now discussing a decades-old disappearance in a neighboring town. He yanked out his earbuds, the silence rushing in, but the phone on the nightstand was buzzing faintly, just like in the dream. He stared at it, his skin prickling, and reached over to pick it up. The line was dead, the buzz gone the moment his fingers touched the receiver. He set it down, his breath uneven, and glanced at the basement window. It was locked, as always, but the glass seemed to shimmer, reflecting the dim glow of his bedside lamp in a way that felt wrong, like a ripple in still water. He didn't sleep again that night. Sitting up with his back against the wall, the phone's silence louder than any sound. When morning came, he checked the window, the locks, the backyard. Nothing was out of place. No footprints, no smudges, no sign that anything had been disturbed. But the dream lingered. The woman's face etched into his mind, her whispered words echoing in the quiet moments. The dreams returned, sporadic but relentless, every few weeks. Always the same kitchen, the same phone, the same woman. Sometimes she was closer, standing by the stove or leaning against the counter, her fingers brushing the receiver. Sometimes she spoke, her voice low and urgent, saying things like, "You're not listening," or "It's already here." The whispers from the phone grew clearer, forming phrases that made Sam's stomach twist. Under the floor, behind the walls. "She's still here." Each time, he woke with the same buzzing in his ears, the same sense that the house was holding its breath. He told Rachel about the dreams after the third one, expecting her to laugh it off. She didn't. She sat at the kitchen table, her coffee mug forgotten, and listened as he described the woman, the phone, the whispers. "You sure it's not just the podcast?" she asked, but her voice was tight, her eyes flicking to the cordless phone on the counter. Sam shook his head. "It's not the podcast. It's specific. Like it's trying to tell me something." Rachel frowned, her fingers tapping the table. "This house creeps me out sometimes. I hear things at night, scratching, like something's moving in the walls." She paused, then added, "Check the phone line. Maybe it's picking up interference." Sam did, that same day. He traced the phone cord from the kitchen to the basement, where it snaked into a dusty junction box. Everything looked normal, the wires intact, no signs of tampering. But when he plugged the phone back in, the buzzing returned, faint and persistent, like a pulse. He unplugged it entirely, leaving it on the counter. And for a few nights, the dream stopped. He thought it was over, that Rachel was right. Interference, nothing more. But the relief was short-lived. 3 weeks later, the dream came back, sharper than ever. This time, the woman was closer, standing inches from him, her breath cold against his cheek. The phone's whispers were louder, almost screaming, "Find her! She's waiting!" Under the floor. When Sam woke, the basement was freezing, the air sharp enough to sting his lungs. The phone, unplugged and silent for weeks, was buzzing again, the sound vibrating through the nightstand. He stared at it, his heart in his throat, and noticed something new. A faint scratch mark on the receiver, thin and deliberate, like a fingernail dragged across plastic. He didn't tell Rachel about that one. He didn't want to scare her, and he wasn't sure he could explain it without sounding unhinged. Instead, He started researching, scouring online forums for anything about the house, the town, or strange dreams tied to objects. He found nothing about Cedar Hollow Road, but Ellsbury had its share of ghost stories, most centered on the old textile mill that had burned down in the 1960s, killing a dozen workers, including a young woman named Margaret Hale. The articles were sparse, the details vague, but one grainy photo showed a woman with dark hair and wide eyes, her face hauntingly familiar. Sam's stomach churned. It was her, the woman from his dreams. He dug deeper, finding snippets in local archives. Margaret had been 25, a seamstress at the mill, known for her quiet demeanor and sharp intelligence. She'd vanished a week before the fire, her disappearance overshadowed by the tragedy that followed. Some said she'd run away, others that she'd been murdered, her body hidden somewhere in town. The stories were inconclusive, fading into rumor, but one detail stuck with Sam. Margaret's family had lived on Cedar Hollow Road, in a house that matched the description of his own. The dreams grew more frequent, coming every few nights. The woman, Margaret, he was sure now, was no longer passive. She moved through the kitchen, her fingers trailing along the counter, leaving faint scratches in the wood. The phone's whispers became a chorus, naming places in the house, the basement, the crawl space. She's still here. Each time, Sam woke to the buzzing phone, the scratch marks spreading, to the nightstand, the basement door, the walls. He started checking the house obsessively, crawling under the floorboards, tapping the walls for hollow spots. Rachel noticed his distraction, the dark circles under his eyes, but he brushed off her questions, afraid to drag her into whatever this was. One night, the dream changed. Margaret wasn't in the kitchen. She was in the basement, standing by the junction box where the phone line connected. Her dress was torn, her hands stained with something dark. Dirt or blood, Sam couldn't tell. The phone was in her hand, the cord dangling, and the whispers were deafening. Dick, find her, now. She looked at him, her eyes bleeding, and pointed to the floor. Sam woke screaming, the phone buzzing so loudly it rattled on the nightstand. He grabbed a flashlight and a crowbar, driven by a compulsion he couldn't explain, and pried up the basement floorboards. Beneath the wood, in a shallow crawl space, he found it, a bundle wrapped in rotted fabric, tied with frayed rope. His hands shook as he pulled it free, the smell of damp earth and decay filling the air. Inside were bones, small and brittle, and a locket with a faded photo of a woman who looked like Margaret. Sam stumbled back, his mind reeling, and called Rachel downstairs. She stared at the bundle, her face pale, and whispered, "We need to call Dad. And the police." The police came that morning, cordoning off the basement. The bones were human, female, likely decades old. They took the locket, the fabric, everything, and asked Sam questions he could barely answer. How did he know where to look? Why was he digging in the middle of the night? He told them about the dreams, the phone, the whispers, expecting disbelief. But the lead officer, an older man named Hargrove, listened intently. "This house," he said, "it's got history. You're not the first to find something strange here." Hargrove shared what he knew. The house had been Margaret Hale's childhood home. After her disappearance, her family moved away, and the house changed hands multiple times. There were stories, whispers really, about odd noises, flickering lights, and tenants who left abruptly. No one had ever found Margaret, but Hargrove suspected she'd never left Ellsbury. The bones were sent for analysis, and within weeks, DNA confirmed it. Margaret Hale, dead since 1962, likely murdered and hidden beneath the house she'd once called home. Sam stopped sleeping in the basement. The dreams didn't stop, but they changed. Margaret was gone, the kitchen empty, the phone silent. Instead, he dreamed of the house itself, its walls pulsing, its wires humming with a life of their own. He and Rachel moved out a month later, unable to stay in a place that felt like it was watching them. Paul sold the house at a loss, and the new owners tore it down, claiming it was structurally unsound. Sam didn't believe that. He thought the house was alive, holding on to Margaret's story, whispering it through the wires until someone listened. Years later, Sam still hears the buzzing in quiet moments, a faint echo that makes his skin crawl. He doesn't know if it's Margaret, the house, or something else entirely. But he knows one thing. Some truth don't stay buried, and some voices never stop whispering. The hum of the wires still lingers in my dreams, a faint reminder that some stories never truly end. Have you ever felt a house watching you, or heard a whisper that wasn't there? Share your own chilling experiences in the comments below. And if this tale sends shivers down your spine, give it a like and pass it on to others who crave the unknown. Follow for more stories where the line between dreams and reality blurs, because the next whisper might be meant for you.